Hi guys, welcome back to Cheney's TCG store. Today I have another market watch for you. I'm going to kind of go into what I think is going on with the market. We're going to look at some prices as well as I think there's maybe one or two buyouts I've noticed. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. First, I'm going to take a look at the 2022 10 since we've had this for about a little over a week now, I believe. But the cases are going for 172. And what I'll say about this, because I did open this set, and I'm not going to post the video because my case ended up showing up late. So I'm sure you guys have already seen plenty of openings. But as far as my opening, I did not get a prosperity. I didn't get a lightning storm, and I did not get a droplets, which definitely hurt my pulls for sure. And I think that's why these cases are still so cheap. If you wanted to buy one and sit on it for a while, I don't think that's too bad. I do think you're gonna have to hold on to it for a very long time, though, to see any kind of return on it. Probably at least a year and a half until I could see these cases going like over 225 or 240. People just don't want to open these, and I think that's also leading to higher prices for the singles because stores don't want to open it either. If you have kind of seen the distributions as far as what you can pull on average, like there's a lot of short print cards, and I think even beyond the short prints, the biggest problem I've seen with this set is clumping. So like every time I would pull a secret rare, for the most part, I would pull multiple of them. For example, I did get a playset of Ash Blossom in one case. I also got a playset of Dragoon, also a playset of Ghost Bell, and I got 4 copies of Underworld Goddess. But I mean, those are like kind of the top end pulls for me. Oh, I did pull 2 Diviner as well. But I guess what I'm trying to get to is if you see a secret rare, a lot of times you're liable to see multiple of that one secret rare, which can be good, but it also can be very bad, like in my case. Fortunately, the Ash Blossoms are worth quite a bit of money. So I made maybe 70% of my money back, but I did also get a lot of penny stocks that I hope will go up in price over time as well. But that's my thoughts on the 10s. Not worth it to open. Get your singles. Pot of Prosperity is sitting at 45. I remember when this was on pre-sale for $30 at the lowest. And I think it was actually, I did a market watch at the time. I said, go ahead and pick them up because I do expect them to go up in price from 30. I didn't expect them to sit at 30. I thought that would be kind of the low point. And then I think it was like release day. We pretty much figured out that there's a really bad clumping issues in this set, and that Pot of Prosperity is super short printed. And then immediately afterwards, like the price just spiked like right on release day. But yeah, I don't know that this card will go down in price anytime soon. It just kind of depends if people start opening this product more, which I don't really see happening either. But yeah, this is what you're paying now. So hopefully if you wanted this card, you got it at 30. Dark Magician Girl at 30, I think it's fine. I think this card looks really good, but I think if you're wanting to pick up a DMG, I would maybe look towards the Lost Art 2020 version because I think a lot of people are looking at the secret rare version, and I think a lot of eyes are kind of off that other version. In fact, we'll take a look at the end. I didn't really even think about that till now, but if I can remember, we'll look towards the end. But these are going for 30, which I don't think is bad, but I could see these going down in price over the next month or two before moving back up. I do think long term this card will do really well. It's very unique. Secret rare is beautiful. And I guess that's kind of one of the other things too. I know people that really don't like ultra rares, and for that reason, they would probably be more inclined to buy the secret rare version instead of the Lost Art. But I think the Lost Art is still my favorite version personally. Forbidden Droplet at 29 is not bad. Like hopefully got these at 17 because that was definitely a good price. If you are going to get a version though now, I think some people will probably disagree with me. I think you should go get the original print. I personally got the original print. I think when it had dropped towards like $35 for first edition. And I already had one and I had an ultimate rare, but I just wanted to, get a second copy so that I have a playset of Forbidden Droplet, even though one of them's ultimate rare. But 2 of them are the original print, and I think I'm pretty happy with paying 35 for it. Lightning Storm, 26, not surprised. Again, like all of these reprint injections that they put in here are short printed for the most part, like Forbidden Droplet, Lightning Storm, all those are like, and I think the hand traps, some of them are short printed, but seems like Ash is like not super short printed, which is good. These are going for 26, which I think is pretty good. Personally, if I was going to pick them up, I would get the original prints. but I haven't played Lightning Storm in years and I haven't really needed to. So, I mean, right now for this price, I'm just going to wait because it's probably something I'm not going to play for a long time. So ideally we'd see another reprint at some point in not secret rare, and I'll pick up the original prints. I used to have the original prints and I really like those the best. I think they look better than the reprint prismatic secret rares. So I think that's still the version I would go for. Blue Eyes White Dragon, $19. I really don't think this is too bad, but this is not my favorite artwork. But I don't think it's way better than the tablet art for sure. But it's not bad if you want to pick them up. Ash Blossom at $17 to $18 here. If you want to get them, you might as well just go ahead and get them now. It could potentially go down like maybe to 15 or 16 after we get the structure decks in hand, but I think long term this will hold really good value. I wouldn't be surprised in 6 months to a year if this card was pushing like 25 towards 28, just because a lot of people, if they're not wanting to pick up the original secret rares, this is going to be your next highest rarity. And who knows if we'll ever get like a Starlight or a ultimate rare. I'm really hoping for an ultimate rare personally. Red Eyes at 13 to 15 here. I actually think this is one of the cooler artworks. I think this is probably tied with me for the Dark Magician Girl. I think this just is a really cool looking version and the colors really work for the card. Dragoon at 13. I did not expect this. This was pre-selling at 7, and I did think this card could go up over time, but not so quickly. But unfortunately, this is another one of the cards I think that was short printed for the most part. Luckily, did get 3 of these, but I probably will be sitting on them for a while. I could see this going back towards 10 in the future here. But I do think it's going to be a card that'll hold pretty good value for most of its life. Next, Cross-Link Designator at 9-10. It's not bad. Personally, I like the ultra rares better. I don't know if you guys have seen what these look like in person, but the artwork, it just kind of looks chopped up with the prismatic secret rare. It just doesn't fit it really well. Whereas I think the ultra rare is really clean looking. So I guess it's up to personal preference, but I think they're around the same price. These are also short printed as well. That's why they went up from like, I think they were going for like $6, $7 at one point. Incredible Ecclesia, also short printed. I did pull 1 copy of this, which is good because I did sell my original print for like $22 before we got the tins. But not bad if you want to pick them up. Sword Soul, not seeing as much play though, but I think some people are still playing this in Albaz. I actually cut this from my branded deck. Just kind of don't really need it. This card is good for Sword Soul though. Link into the Brains. This card actually has been going up in price, and it's actually a really good card. I think for maybe MathMex or like at Ignister, but something to keep your eye on because I do think this could have some potential in the future. So if you're like wanting to get this, I would probably get it like sooner rather than later. Or if you just want to wait and see if you can see some copies come on for like the $350 range, that's fine too. Destiny Hero Phoenix Enforcer, I actually think is really good for $4 to $5. I did pick up a couple of copies of this. I don't think we'll get Fusion Destiny back to 3 on this list, but it could happen in the future. And even if we don't get Fusion Destiny back, this will see play in Heroes. And you know how hero cards do, they just go up over time. So I think it's a pretty safe bet to get at least 1 or 2 copies of this. I personally ordered just 2 because I know it's going to take a while for the price to go up. So I just got 1 for my personal collection and then 1 to sell sometime in the future. And I might pick up more if these go cheaper towards like the $350 range, but we'll have to see. Albert at $325, $4, not bad. These were short printed as well, so that's why these aren't worth like $1 or $2, which they probably should be. Don't get me wrong, this card's really good. We just have multiple reprints at this point. Branded Opening around 4, not bad. Ghost Bells, also another card to go ahead and pick up. If you can get them, like every once in a while, you'll see a couple of copies show up for like $3, $3.25. I would try to wait and see if you can get a deal like that because that's pretty good for this card. But I do think this card could go back up towards $7, $8 over the next few months. Small World as well. These are some of the stronger pickups. I think Small World is going to be really good, especially if we have like a tier 1 deck that can really utilize this card. I think it was seeing a lot of play when we had, what was that deck called? It started with the base. That's it. Base was definitely playing this at 3, and I know there's quite a bit of strategies, a lot of rogue decks that play this at 3. It's just a really good card to search for your starter. So I did pick up, I think, a couple of play sets of this card. But yeah, if you want to, I think $3.40 is perfectly fine. If you want to pick some up, there's tons available. It definitely was not short printed. This is one that was, a pretty common secret rare to get. But yeah, definitely keep your eye on this card. We'll see if there's maybe some penny stocks in here. I do think the Masquerade super rare is also good if you can get them for like a quarter each. Ghost Ogre, again, another solid card. I do think this could go down though, maybe in the short term, just because this card's like not seeing as much play. It's still definitely seeing some play right now. But at the same time, I just don't see this card going under like $2.50. So if you want these, you can go ahead and get them. It might not be worth waiting for, getting this for a few cents cheaper, but just something to keep in mind. Nibiru's kind of irrelevant right now, honestly. They're not seeing nearly as much play. I mean, part of the reason is Sprite. Like, you just literally can't use this card against Sprite because you can't summon monsters. I think it's above level 6 once they use their Xyz monster. So it's not really worth playing this. You could still side this against maybe some rogue decks, but even Tearlaments, like, I just don't think that this is effective against Tearlaments. Maybe against Dragon Link, but kind of the dominant Dragon Link build right now is playing the adventure package, so you're gonna have to like put up with that. I mean, a lot of Dragon boards can do it and like get a negate on board in under 5 summons. Even though Dragon's not like tier 1 or anything, but still like a common deck I see being played. But yeah, you might want to go pick up your original secret rares though, because those are also cheap. I think this card had been down under like, I think it was like around $2, and the original secret rares were like $5.50. At least I found a couple of copies for that price. So I did order an additional play set, even though I already have a play set of the prismatic secret rares. Lord of the Heavenly Prison, just a really good like rogue card for like if you're playing a stun deck. I do think these look pretty good. If you want to pick these up, it definitely could see play in the future, just kind of depending on, if the meta kind of shifts and it slows down a little bit. Right now, I don't really foresee it seeing too much play, just because you don't see a whole lot of stun players other than like Mystic Mine, but even Mystic Mine, you're not really playing a bunch of traps. But yeah, just something to keep your eye on as well. These were, I got it, like I said, 4 of these, but they're cheap if you want to pick them up. I think that's about it. I guess Dark Rulers as well is something to keep your eye on, because the original prints I think are down to $10, which are really good pickups still. But these at ultra rare version at $2.30 is not bad, and these were pretty short printed. I got a play set of Dark Rulers, I guess, in my 10, but that's a clumping issue. I only got 1 Nibiru. Everything else, kind of just up to you. I mean, Dimension Shifter I wouldn't go heavily into, because I could see this getting hit at some point. Even though I think this card is super fair. Personally, I think that this card should probably stay at 3, but that's just me. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that. Brain and Red, really strange to see this at $1. I need to go dig these out of my bulk. But yeah, that's crazy. Albion's actually a good pickup at $1. These were actually cheaper. It looks like these are kind of going up in price. I do want to check real quick on the super rare Branded and Reds, which topped out around $5 to $6 before the reprint. They're back up towards like $3 now, which is pretty crazy to see. Yeah, $3.25, bottoming out towards $3 or $4. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. But if you're gonna buy one, might as well just spend the extra money and get the super rares. But real quick, let's look at the Dark Magician Girl before I forget, from Lost Art. I just don't want to get to I always say that I'll go over something, then I get to the end and then I completely forget. Let's see here. God, Lost Art. I guess let's just do it. We'll just search it. I thought there was like a parentheses afterwards that said Lost Art, but I guess not. What are the ghost rares going for? 200. I mean, the problem is that the quality control is just not worth the risk of getting like a really badly damaged copy. There we go. Okay, let's click on these. These at one point, if you remember, were going for $75. And I remember when these first came out, I searched or I called like 5 or 6 different locals and nobody had them. They just like basically were gone immediately. Okay, so these are starting off at 35, lightly played here, which I'm assuming probably just means that maybe they took it out of the wrap, but who knows? And then you have some near mints for 36. Yeah, I mean, this is $6 or $7 more than the secret rare. Personally, I would go for these and stay away from the 2021s. It's not worth those, but getting those just because those aren't really that much cheaper than this. And this is going to be the, the full art, not the full, yeah, it is, guess full art. If you look at the 2021s, they've got like the traditional Yu-Gi-Oh borders around the artwork, whereas this one doesn't. Definitely go for this version. Moving on, I wanted to talk about Runics. Probably an archetype that I severely like underestimated, just because I didn't really know much about them, but I hadn't heard a whole lot of hype before the Tactical Masters came out. But just to learn the deck and kind of get an idea of how toxic this deck is, I built it on Dueling Book. I played Mystic Mine Runic, just pure Runic Mystic Mine, and honestly, it's a super big problem. Like we've got to get rid of Mystic Mine. Like it's ridiculous. The amount of cards that you can mill off your opponent, especially if you're playing other cards, like making them draw cards. Like I was playing a Cup of Ace to make them draw cards or potentially just give me cards. But yeah, I mean, it's not even like usually like a Mystic Mine burn takes like 10 to 15 turns or something crazy. It takes at least 10 turns. I was able to win like in 4 turns and a couple of times. Sometimes, obviously you don't draw as well, but we got to do something about this. Not Runic specifically, but Mystic Mine. I think if we get rid of Mystic Mine, Runic's completely fine. It's just kind of like an alternative win con strategy. And I think it's pretty cool, actually. It does mesh really well with Sprite, but definitely a pretty cool deck. I just don't like that you can play it with Mystic Mine, and it's really toxic that way. But I would not pick these up yet. I would wait for the ban list because I do think that these prices will come down a little bit after Mystic Mine is gone. Not that everybody is playing this with Mystic Mine, but it's definitely like a really toxic way to play this deck personally. And, with the ban list, I kind of have been like, that's kind of one of the reasons I haven't been making as many videos as well as just being really busy. But I just haven't felt super inclined to play the game or invest in the game recently just because we don't have a ban list, and I really don't want to invest into like say Sprite or Tearlament until I see that they don't get hit. And I don't think they're going to get hit directly on the ban list. I could see Sprite potentially getting Swap Frog limited to 1, which I think would be a really good hit to start off with. But as far as Tearlaments, I don't even know what you would really hit without hitting archetype cards, which seems like kind of a bad way to go about it. I just don't really know what you hit, because even if you hit Dangers, that will maybe fix this. That'll maybe like help a little bit for like a couple of like a month until we get Magnificent Maidens, where the Ishizu cards are going to come, and then they'll probably cut the Dangers anyways. But yeah, these collector's rares are really expensive though. I don't think it's worth it. If you have like collector's rare tips, I would probably just get rid of them at this point. I do think this will kind of phase out in a little bit, but who knows? I could be wrong. Sprite could continue to play this just because you can. And besides just decking people out, it actually helps Sprites because, you have the level 2 fusion monster that can help your combos start going. But you also have like other effects that you can search for, like monster negates and destruction and stuff like that. But definitely a really cool deck. I would like to build it at some point in the future if they ban Mystic Mine. Okay, next is Appaloosa. So this was kind of the surprise buyout of the day. I'm actually going to refresh this just to make sure the price hasn't gone down or gone up more, just because I pulled this up earlier. Okay, it has come down a little bit, but first edition here for the secret rares, we're not going to look at unlims just because I don't think it's a version you should pick up or even consider. But lightly played first edition starting off at 50. Then near mint's going to 52, bottoming out to 60 here. If you have these, if you have multiple of these, you might want to consider offloading one of them, but if you just have your one copy, I still think that this card is going to continue to move up over time. unless it's power crept and we get a better version. But it's kind of hard to think that there would be a better substitute to Appaloosa. It's just one of the most powerful link monsters ever created. The first edition ultra rare reprints are going for 25, which is crazy because I remember these going for $7 to $8 at their low point after the gold rare got reprinted. And when I picked up my secret rare after the gold rare reprint, I got it for $20 for first edition. So I've done pretty well on that. I wish I would have picked up more at the time, but at the time, and this was 2020, I wasn't investing nearly as much as I am now. Next, I wanted to take a look at flunderies. So I know I had talked about this before on my channel before we got the megatins, but I'd always talked about whenever you get the megatins, what you do is you find the like a powerful archetype and you buy the cards that aren't up for reprint. For example, like this year, I picked up Advent of Adventure when they were $10, $11 because I knew it was the one card that they wouldn't reprint because it had been printed in 2022. So I did end up selling mine for, I think, 20, but now they're up to 23 and there's only 23 listings of these. But regardless, if you were thinking about playing flunderies, I still think the whole deck as a whole is a pretty good deal. Obviously, you don't have to spend as much on the other cards because they did get reprinted. So Impin is going for $4, and this card looks gorgeous, honestly. So I think it's definitely worth getting this over the super rare. But if you wanted to budget out, you could just get the super rare, which is like 15 cents. Snow Owl, you don't have to, like, you shouldn't play this card, but you can if you want to. I kind of like playing this card. I don't know why. It's definitely not the best way to play the deck, but I do think that it's kind of a fun card. And then, like, of course, everything else is just super, super cheap. Maps, which is one of the cards that I pulled, like, I think 5 or 6 copies of out of the megatins. But these are well under $1 now, and I think they were going for like $3.50 before the reprint. Something to keep your eye on, or if you bought the Advent of Adventure when I mentioned it, you might want to consider selling it. Next is Exchange of Spirits. So I wanted to cover this real quick for Telements because there's a potential, or not a potential. I think that this will see play at like 1 copy and the Tearlament Ishizu decks. And these had gotten bought out to like these sneak preview series. Ultra rares have been bought out towards like $20 to $30 for a lightly played or near mint, but they're back down now towards $10 for lightly played. If you're thinking about playing the Ishizu Tearlament stuff, you might want to go ahead and get this. And if you aren't playing it, you might just want to go ahead and invest into a copy or 2 of this to resell when we get those cards. There is a chance that we could see a reprint of this in Magnificent Maidens, but I kind of doubt it. I give that like a 20% chance. But who knows? They might put that in there. Other than that, you have the Dark Legends for around 35, and then the Gold Rare for around 2 or 3. So you can also get some cheaper versions, and then there also is a common for around $1. But if you're going to ask me what I think is the best version to get, I do think it's the sneak preview series for the money because it's only $10. And I actually did have this card. I actually dug this up out of bulk from when I was a kid. I probably had this card for like 16, 17 years or however long. I've had it since like the 3rd grade. But yeah, I did sell mine though for like $20, and I'm considering picking these back up now that they're pretty cheap. You definitely have like play sets here available, 2 or 3 copies from each seller. But yeah, something to keep your eye on. Next, I wanted to go over Power of the Elements because if you've noticed, I think a lot of people aren't really excited about the format right now. It's very heavily dominated by Tearlament and also Sprite. But between those 2 decks and then also like Mystic Mine running around, like it's just a really stale format, even though like this new format started with Power of the Elements and it hasn't really been that long. It's only been like 7 or 8 weeks, but it's been 7 or 8 weeks of the same thing, and it's time for a ban list. Actually, I found out that this is the longest we've ever waited for a ban list in the last 5 years, which is crazy to me. They definitely need to change their wording, and I think the best thing they can really do, because regardless if we get a list or not, I think really all I want from them is communication. If they could say, hey, we don't want to have a list this month because we still want to let Power of the Elements decks to get some more play time before we start cutting at them. That would be fine if they would just say look for the next ban list around October 15th or October 31st or whatever. I think that's the main thing that the community wants. I don't think anybody's like too mad about there not being a ban list. I mean, it's definitely frustrating, but I think it all comes down to communication, which is the major issue here. Primeval Planet Pirliano is going for around $80, which is, I guess, around the lowest point I've seen it. And the most, I guess, in the recent couple of weeks, this card has been around 85 to 90-ish. Again, I think people are too scared to pick these cards up, you know, with there not being clarity on what the next format's going to look like, which I don't blame people whatsoever. Sprite blues are back down towards like 55 to 60, which I think is fair. Again, same with the field spell. If you want to pick these up, there's a potential you could make some money, but at the same time, you're really risking it with the ban list, not touching these. Again, I don't think they're going to hit anything in these decks directly. They're going to hit one of the combo pieces, like, for example, hitting the swap frog to 1, which I think would really help even things out. But at the same time, I don't really know what they do with tier elements to really fix the situation. Ultimate Slayer is down to 50. Well, I think it's around like 35 to 40, which is pretty good. Again, this card's like, it's going to be sitting in your side deck, and it's not going to be applicable every game. So it's one of those things I think is really good to have in your side deck. I personally do, especially if you have a diverse extra deck. But I think $35 to $40 is fine for this card. Could definitely go up in the future, just depending on the format. But it's definitely a pretty powerful card. Sprite Elf still hanging out around the 24 range. Not surprising. This card is just like really busted for a Link 2. Yeah, unless it gets hit, I see it staying where it's at. And if we get another deck that can, or I think there are a couple decks that are playing it, but if we get more decks that can utilize it, then it's just going to keep going up the price. Rhinoheart down towards 18, I think like 18 to 20. I actually did pick up a copy, even though I sold one when I pulled it for like $21 or something. I saw a cheap copy available with free shipping for like $15 a couple days ago, so I did pick it up. But these are 16 here, which is not too bad. Going up to 17, bottoming out towards 18, 19. Again, I think after the ban list, some of these tier element cards will start going back up in price. I think this card should be around 18 to 20 based on power level. But I think I want to maybe pick up tier elements, but I just really don't want to do it before the ban list. Same with sprites. I would really like to pick up Sprite and play around with Runic. No Mystic Mine. I refuse to play Mystic Mine. But it would be a fun deck to play, but it's just not worth the risk right now. And it's not like, even if they got hit pretty heavily, I would still want to pick up the decks. I just wouldn't want to pay the current prices, and then those prices dump. Exo Sister Martha, still in the $12 range. Garura, 14 to $15. This came down yesterday towards like 12. And you can see the market price is still, around $12, but it looks like it's back up in price. Super good card. Just a generic super poly target. It'd be interesting to see if they limit or ban super poly on the next list, whenever that might be. But personally, I don't think that they will. Kurikara down to $9 to $10. I mean, $9 is pretty good with multiple copies here. If you really wanted this card, the artwork's really cool. I don't foresee this seeing play anytime soon. I just think there's better cards you can play personally. Like, I would rather play Dark Ruler and just break their board that way. But I could see it seeing some play. I just don't really think I know how that would look like. I just don't know what decks that would be good against. Kid Kalos 7s, Sprite starters. I got excited there for a second, $1.30, but that's probably a foreign copy. This card's super good. It's basically your quick launch for sprites, which I'm sure all of you know that. These are down towards actually $5, $6, it looks like. Shout out to Sakuraso. But yeah, that's pretty cheap, honestly. That could probably go up, but again, I think these cards are creeping down because we're expecting a ban list. And I don't think any of the Power of the Elements cards are really going to jump up in price from where they're at now until we get that ban list. last is Cyframe Gear Gamma. So ultra rares are down here, $21 for a light play, which I think is really, really good for this card. I think this card, you know, usually hovers around the $30 to $32 mark. So really good. And after that, it goes to 25. So consider picking it up. This is actually one of my favorite ultra rares of like all time. I just think it looks super clean. But the super rare is going for $7, $8. This is seeing more play now. And it's kind of one of those cards that always just floats in and out of different formats. But it's always good to have like at least a play set of gammas in your binder, just so you can use it whenever you need to. I will say in Dragon Link, this card's like the MVP because, you know, you go into your chaos space, and if they ash that, that's like the best case scenario if you have Gamma in hand, because you're getting a free Synchro 8, or you're getting a free Halka Fibrax if you're playing the adventure token version of that deck. The gold rares are actually up towards like $6 now. If you remember, I did talk about picking these up when they were $3 to $3.50, which I did. I picked up a couple play sets. So pretty nice to see that these are up in price. I probably will sell these if they can get to a solid $7, but we'll have to see. Rares, almost $6 as well. But keep your eye on this card because it definitely could start disappearing pretty quickly here. That is going to be all, though. I'll try to do some more videos. I think last week I was just super busy, and next week will be better. We'll definitely have more time to get to more videos. I was kind of also just not feeling super excited about the game currently, just because we don't have a ban list, and I want to, you know, start building new decks or, you know, play testing, but it's kind of hard to feel motivated to do that when you don't know when the next ban list might hit. You definitely don't want to waste your time building decks, or, you know, waste money, most of all, building decks if you don't know it's going to be viable in a couple of weeks. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the ban list, and what your issues are with their communication. To me personally, it all comes down to communication, really. But with that aside, thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.